Now, into the ticket office of Disneyland.
Oh boy, let's do this.
Don't think the CIA is going to be trying to hack your second-gen iPod.
I didn't think so. There might have been a lot of illegal music on there. I wouldn't doubt it. But, I mean...
Because that would be stupid.
iTunes is a constant source of embarrassment.
I approve this message.
I really don't see Apple ever doing that. I am Nadella.
I can't do it anymore without laughing. I was going to do the whole thing. Welcome, everyone, to the Calling All Platforms podcast. I am your host today. I am Wes, and I am here with Landon.
Hello.
And Caleb.
Hello.
And we are here to talk all things tech this week.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how are you guys this week?
Not too bad, I guess.
Good?
I am drowning in software news.
Drowning, yeah. That literally.
Pretty much.
But hopefully some of the rumors were no longer rumors? Or just added more?
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and let's start. I'm going to go ahead and address the elephant in the room here with Microsoft. But Microsoft spent a lot of money this past week. Well, I don't know when they're going to hand it over, but $7.5 billion.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, that is quite a bit. So, what did they spend this money on? Well, we have the Xbox One X2. No, just kidding. Just kidding. No, Microsoft now has bought GitHub. You wonder what GitHub is? I'm going to go ahead and let Caleb explain that to you because I tried to kind of understand exactly what it is, and I still kind of don't. But I'll let him take over for a second. Caleb, what's GitHub?
Okay, GitHub. GitHub is an online code repository. I don't really know how to put it in more layman's terms than that. So, no, it's basically GitHub it's an online service that developers use to manage their code for whatever they're developing while they're working on it. What it kind of gives them the ability to do is to control like how they're developing so that they don't accidentally break something and then lose all of their progress from before. It version controls the software, meaning that it stores all the past versions of the software so you can go back to a working version if you break something. And then it also gives you the ability to branch. So if you've got a working version of the software, you can branch off of that and make changes to it without actually editing the original version of the software. So that's kind of what a code repository is. GitHub is just a very popular online code repository that's used by a lot of open source projects and stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool service. It actually allows you to do free web hosting too, if you have a very simple website that you want to host on there, and it's pretty legit. So hopefully Microsoft respects those foundational principles of openness and whatnot.
Well, considering they've, been very accepting of Android and iOS as the dominant mobile platforms, I think they're okay with that.
Yeah,
a little more accepting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And especially considering their software is kind of open source to an extent,
Yeah.
I thought, because this article coming from Paul Thurrott, I thought was kind of funny how he explains it a little bit. He says, GitHub is described as the world's leading software development platform, and it has currently served over 28 million developers worldwide. But why would Microsoft spend so much heavy sum for what is essentially plumbing? Says, in this age of competing cloud and mobile platforms, many of which it does not control, Microsoft needs to get its superior software development tools and services in front of more developers. And that's one way to do it. So obviously they use Visual Studio Code, and other Microsoft developer offerings will now be tailored to work natively with the service.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, it's all GitHub really is. Like you can download the GitHub client onto your computer and then set up your own little vault in GitHub. It's really easy. It's really straightforward. Takes just a couple of minutes, and you don't have to put code in it. You can put whatever the heck you want in there. Like it's basically just like checking files from your computer and then storing them in the cloud somewhere, except it doesn't look like a cloud storage service the way that we expect them, you know? So you can use it in a number of different ways. And like I said, you can even use it as a web host if you have a simple website that you want online. But it's a pretty versatile system. And like you said, it's used by tons and tons of developers and open source projects all over the world for, personal projects and for stuff that they want to use to change the world. And I'm pretty sure that stuff like VLC is actually hosted like through GitHub. Like if you want to edit the VLC code base, you go to GitHub and you check it out from VLC. You can edit it, you can make your own branch and do whatever you want with it and develop your own feature. And then if the community likes it, then it goes back into the core VLC branch and gets merged into the software. So yeah, it's a really big platform. And like you said, it makes sense for Microsoft to go this direction simply because they've got Visual Studio, which is the platform that you use to generate the code. And it would be really nice if they also had an integrated cloud repository service that they could plug right into Visual Studio that works natively with it. So if you've got Visual Studio installed, you're already set up to use GitHub, and you can start your own personal project, and instead of storing it on your computer, you can store it in the cloud where it's version controlled, and you can always go back to an older version if you need to, and so on and so forth.
Cool. That's actually really cool. Thanks. That actually makes a lot more sense than what I was reading for someone to explain what it is for me. So to add to that, so they're actually doing like a big merge. So they didn't just buy them and then get rid of everybody. Microsoft's Nat Friedman will take over GitHub's CEO, and GitHub's CEO, Chris Wanstrath, I think that's how you say it, sorry if I screw that name up, will become a Microsoft Technical Fellow and report to Scott Guthrie. So, thought that was cool. Kind of merging everybody together.
And that makes sense. I'm sure, like, if they were to, go in there and throw things around like crazy, all the developers would be like, no, this is a bad thing.
Yeah.
So just tweaking things in no big ways, obviously, that's going to be the right thing for them to do.
Yeah. And I hope they try and pull some kind of competition for storage, like better competition for cloud storage like Google has. I've seen the news for them that you can have a monthly charge of like $3 for a certain amount of terabytes and family shared and all that. Yeah. I hope that comes soon, or some kind of competition for it. So, all right, next thing, Windows 10 on ARM. Qualcomm's going to try and save it.
Yeah.
Because apparently right now they're having problems with Windows 10 on ARM. Basically what's going to happen is Qualcomm, they're just going to engineer a new family of CPUs specifically for Windows 10 on ARM.
Yeah, I read a little bit about this. It's the Snapdragon 850.
Yep.
And don't be confused by the naming because, tech companies are really good at that, obviously. But, I mean, the 845 obviously is the latest phone processor, and you would think 850 could potentially be a successor to that, but no. This is built specifically for laptops and computers and things.
Yeah, basically they said optimize for performance.
Yeah,
is the main thing for it. So awesome, I think.
I think it'll be good. I think like this is going to be what these next generation ARM computers are going to have in them coming later this year, early next year, obviously. But
yep,
I'm interested to see if I don't think this would necessarily make things cheaper, but like you said, having something more optimized for this type of thing, optimized for a laptop and running Windows on it, I think will be a better experience rather than just throwing the latest mobile processor in there.
Yeah. So a couple of things they have on here. It says, excuse me, features for the 850. It says, first, the 850 provides 30% faster performance on the PC, thanks to its faster Cairo 385 CPU cores, which run speeds of up to 2.95 gigahertz. An improvement over the 2.6 of the 280. It also provides a 30% graphics performance boost. And then second, the 850 will provide 20% better battery life than its predecessor, which is, it says, which is impressive given that the Snapdragon 835 based PCs already deliver about 20 hours of real-world battery life. And then third, Qualcomm is improving the speed of the LTE Advanced by about 20%, with the top download speeds jumping to 1.2 gigabits per second thanks to a new Snapdragon X20 LTE modem.
Yeah.
So really pushing that to really give you a good, fast experience for the Windows 10 on ARM.
Yeah. And I see this also as it's very similar to the Snapdragon 845 for phones.
Yeah.
But I think the minor tweaks that they've made to it could potentially lead to what the next mobile processor is going to have on it.
Oh yeah, it's just going to help improve
everything.
So
this is good all around.
Yeah. Have any comments there, Caleb?
I don't.
Just wondering. I know you're not on Windows.
I'm trying to save my voice for all of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about.
Okay.
And he's waiting for, an A12 to be thrown into a MacBook, not a Snapdragon 850.
Yeah. Someday.
Fair enough. Well, that's kind of all the main Microsoft news I have. I do have some Xbox news, but we'll save that for later. So take it away, Landon.
Okay. In the Google department, we have leaks, kind of.
Yeah.
So last week we talked about the leaked screen protectors for the new Google Pixel phones. We now have what the source is saying is a Pixel 3 XL prototype. And they're actually pretty decent images. They're not like super blurry. They're not obviously really clean and crisp and clear and all that stuff, but they're way better than some of these type of images you get.
Yeah.
But it does look very similar to at least the screen looks very similar to what we saw in that screen protector. So it's got the notch on top with what look to be two cameras of some sort up top. Speaker grill on the bottom with the chin. That we were kind of expecting. The back looks very similar to the current Pixel 2 XL, but at the same time, it almost looks like the full back is all glass, kind of. Like the top part is still, at first glance, I thought, oh, that's exactly like the Pixel 2 XL because it's got the glass on the top and a flat metal-looking finish on the below that.
Yeah.
But actually, if you get it, I've seen more images today that show different angles of it, and it actually looks like it's all glass, but the bottom part of it is just a brushed finish.
Huh.
Which I kind of think will be better in the sense that it'll be easier to hold on to, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know how that's going to help or not help with fingerprints. Because, shiny glass gets fingerprints and flat glass gets fingerprints.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that's going to be.
Yeah, well, I want to say it was the OnePlus, right? Just the most recent OnePlus phone.
Yeah, it's got that
has got a matte finish on the glass back for that thing.
Yeah, and it looks really good.
Yeah. You'd assume that they're probably doing something like that with the interest of wireless charging.
Yeah. They're not going to pull a OnePlus and just throw it on there for fun.
You'd hope
they're going to do it. They're going to do it for, a reason.
For realsies, yo.
And the other interesting part about this, the side of the phone, so the images that I saw show the front and back and then all four sides. The sides look a lot more shiny than what the first two iterations of the phone have been. Because the original Pixel and the Pixel 2 have been that flat black or white metal finish, brushed finish.
Yeah.
So it's not super shiny. This looks more kind of like the Galaxy S9, where it's got the metal frame, but it's like a shiny, polished aluminum frame.
Yeah. Well, or
That's kind of what this is looking like.
or the iPhone X has got a stainless steel frame around it that's chromed.
Yeah,
So.
it kind of looks like that, but black. Like this one's the black version. So I'm interested to see what it actually is, but these look legit. It doesn't have the Google logo on the back like the finished product will. It's got this weird circular thing with a line. I don't know. It's different, but it's a similar logo to what a prototype of the Pixel 2 XL had on it. So that's kind of why we're thinking this is more legit than initially thought.
Oh, right. Cool.
So, and obviously as we get closer to when the launch date is, we're going to start seeing more and more of these type of things. But so far, I think it looks pretty good. But obviously we have to wait and find out exactly.
Gotcha.
The next thing with Google is Developer Preview 3 is now available for those that are on the beta program. I downloaded it on my phone. It's a little bit better. It's not quite as buggy. It's a little smoother. The gesture interface has gotten a little bit better, I guess. I don't know. It's still kind of a hot mess, but it's a little better. It's a little smoother. It's actually got, like, it kind of tells you what to do when you go into using the gesture interface instead of just going into it and trying to figure it out yourself.
Well, that's
it gives little instructions at the initial time you use it. So that's helpful.
Yeah.
The other thing is it is confirming that Android P is going to be version 9. So if you go into your About Phone settings, it'll say Android version and says Android 9. So now we know that it is not just a point update, it's going to be a full number update, which they've done the past, 4 times, I think?
Yeah.
4 or 5 times. Whereas, like, initially, some of the name changes would just go with a 0.1 update or something like that.
Well, yeah, they were on Android 4 for, 4 years or something like that.
Well, they did Android 3, and then they went to 3.2 was an update, and then 3.6 was an update, or something weird like that. And then, 4.0, and then they went to 4.2, and 4.4 was Kit Kat.
Yep.
4.0 was Ice Cream Sandwich. 4.2 or 4.3 was Jelly Bean, and then 4.4 was Kit Kat.
Yeah.
So they stayed on 4 for a while.
Yeah, they did. They did. It was a number of years.
But since then, it's gone to 5, 6, 7, 8, and then 9. So
yep,
they're kind of, learning. So that's good.
Learning as we go.
Yes. That's all my Google news, but I do have some general tech news from Amazon.
Oh, yeah.
They announced they have shown off, rather, because they kind of announced this before we talked about it, is the Amazon TV Cube. But they finally have let everything out and told us about it. It's basically what we thought. It's a Fire TV stick, just in a bigger form. So that's interesting. It even has the same internals as the Fire TV sticks with a 1.5 gigahertz ARM CPU and 2 gigs of RAM. The difference here, though, is it has 16 gigs of internal storage rather than the 8 gigs on the Fire TV stick. And this also has 8 microphones built into it. So you can use Alexa for different things. And it also works with your cable boxes. So, like we've talked previously, how with certain companies you can use the remote and voice search and different things like that to do certain things with the cable box. This way you can actually use Alexa to do those things. So you can say, hey, Alexa, watch ESPN, or change to channel 55, or turn the volume up, or things like that. And it'll do that. So that's kind of nice,
Yeah.
I mean, something like this you would hope that it would have those features, but it does. The downside, since it's running Fire OS, you can't watch YouTube.
Darn it.
So there's that. Price-wise, you can pre-order it now. For Prime users, if you pre-order it, is $89.99. Not Prime users is $119.99, and it is going to be released on June 21st.
Wow. Well, what you said, I really don't have a need for it, but I'm sure other people do.
I don't have a need for it either because I have a Roku TV built into my TV. So the only thing that I'm missing is that voice search, and I don't care that much for that right now.
Yeah. I think I did really like it when I had Comcast or Xfinity.
Yeah.
When they had the voice search, but now that I'm away, I do remember when I switched to the new service, I was kind of bummed because I was like, I just want to say something to the remote and it would just do it for me.
Yeah.
And I can see how you can get used to that, but
see, I've never had that. I've played around with it with other people's services, but me personally, I've never had it, so I'm not missing out because I'm not going away from that.
Yeah. But I know for some people that probably would be great. So.
Oh yeah, I mean that would be a nice feature to have with this, but again, I don't need it.
Yeah.
So I don't need it enough to spend $90 or $120 to buy that. So
yeah, me neither.
Yep.
I'm fine.
Yep.
Spend $90 to tell a woman's voice to do your bidding on your electronics.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. I'm fine. So that's all the news that I have for now. I do have some gaming news, but we'll get to that later.
Definitely get to that. Yeah. All right. Well, the man of the hour.
Oh boy.
Apple.
You guys ready
Let's
for this?
hear it. Oh yeah.
Okay. So I want to start out with the one piece of news that managed to happen before Monday morning of this past week. Apple Music's web widget. So there's always been kind of like a little web interface that you could use to view iTunes tracks and stuff via browser, even if you couldn't actually like listen to them or download them or anything like that. Apple Music's web widget, which is a version of that's embeddable in other websites and devices, now allows you to sign in to the service using your Apple ID and gives you track browsing and playback, which means that like maybe we're actually going to be seeing a full Apple Music web client that will allow you to get, listen to all of your Apple Music stuff via a web browser on any platform that has a web browser. So, any platform.
That's really nice.
Right? Like that's
so this is a way
weird,
to get Apple Music on Windows.
Yes. Without having to use iTunes.
Yeah. And I get why they would do this because this is going to make it even more of a competitor for Spotify.
Yep. That's exactly
because Spotify is available everywhere. And it's just easy to use for everyone.
And it's even on Windows Phone, so that's saying something. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now, that's the other question I had. Can you use this on a mobile browser?
Probably.
I mean, I don't see the point because there's an app on Android and iOS.
Yeah. I would kind of be surprised if you could, but I mean, there's always ways around that. Like technically, you're not supposed to be able to get to iCloud via a mobile browser, but you can.
Yeah.
If you know how to set your mobile browser up correctly, then you can do that stuff. So, it might just mean that your interface is going to be super tiny or something like that, but you could probably get it to work in a mobile browser. But again, there's apps there already on mobile devices.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I can get to the iTunes web store on my phone. It doesn't look good. Not that it looks good on the desktop, but it doesn't look good on the phone. Definitely, because it's a desktop version of the site.
Yeah.
On a phone.
Yep.
That the desktop version already is kind of janky and doesn't look great.
Yep.
So throw that onto a phone, and that's fun.
Yeah, but maybe they're going to pay some attention to it, which it'd actually be interesting because. I mean, spoiler alert for WWDC keynote, they didn't really talk about Apple Music at all, which is weird because it is one of their, big services and it's definitely software. So, and it was introduced at a WWDC. So, why didn't they talk about that? They didn't talk about the HomePod either. So there's been some speculation that we could be seeing like a July or August audio-focused event from Apple, which we used to get all the time when they were releasing iPods, but it's been a few years since we've had one of those, since the iPod kind of died. But now we have the HomePod, and now we have Apple Music. So, this is kind of suggesting that we might be seeing an event like that, and at that event we might be seeing a full-on web client for Apple Music, which would be pretty sweet. Okay, so speaking of WWDC, keynote was on Monday. It happened. I watched the whole thing. It was exciting. It actually was pretty good.
Was there a Microsoft pun?
There wasn't. No. No, Tim actually managed to avoid being cringy like pretty much the entire time he was on stage. I was impressed.
That is impressive, actually.
Right? Like, it's saying something.
I wonder
for sure.
if Satya called him and was like, "Hey, just my bad.
Don't do this thing that I did." It's anyways. My one thing I will say about Tim is that he came out on stage right at the beginning of the event, and he started the whole thing out by saying that the whole thing was going to be all about software. And I was a little sad right from the get-go because he was telling the truth. There was no one more thing, no hardware reveals of any kind. And if anybody would listen to our WWDC wish list episode from a couple of weeks ago, you'll know that most of my wish list was for hardware, so I was sad.
Yeah, I did see that one part of the keynote where, Tim Cook is like, you've probably heard all the rumors about hardware and stuff, and then a giant no pops up on the screen behind him. Yeah, that ain't happening. It's like, man.
Poor Caleb.
It's okay, though. It was a pretty good software event, if nothing else. So they started off with iOS 12, and I just want to, this is the reason WWDC is actually probably my favorite Apple keynote of the year to watch, is because the whole thing is down to Craig Federighi, and he is the only executive at Apple who still knows how to present a keynote.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, I shouldn't actually say that, because there actually were a bunch of other executives from the Apple Watch team and the tvOS team and the Siri team and a whole bunch of executives that are software based that report to Craig, so they're just directly underneath him, that came out and did a lot of demos and introduced a lot of features and stuff like that. And actually most of them did a really good job. It's just Phil Schiller and Eddie Q and Tim Cook that can't present to save their lives, and unfortunately we see them on stage all the time. Oh well. I'll get over it. Craig's hair was still pretty amazing. Oh, and actually, gosh, if you haven't watched the introduction video for the keynote, it was beautiful. It was basically a nature documentary about developers, and
interesting.
You need to go watch that. It was amazing.
Okay.
Nature documentary.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I am intrigued.
iOS 12. We'll start off right there.
Yeah.
Craig's very first thing that he said about iOS 12 coming out onto the stage was that they are doubling down on performance to try and make the operating system faster and more responsive. And what's cool about that is they started off by making iOS 12 compatible with every iOS device that runs iOS 11. So that means everything that if you have iOS 11, you get iOS 12, which is something they've done with macOS a couple of times over the past few years. And every time I see that kind of thing, I'm just like, that's awesome. It's like, we're not dropping support for any of our devices this year, which is dope. And on top of that, because they're doubling down on performance, Craig is what they're claiming is that even on the oldest devices that they're supporting, which is the iPhone 5S, which, dadgum, the longevity of that phone.
Yeah, no kidding.
That thing is impressive.
I have still seen people with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My brother still has one, and he was actually saying, he's like, I might not update to the new one because, is it going to do the same thing it did to my iPhone 4S when I updated the last OS that supported that and made it really dog slow and that kind of thing? And supposedly, on the iPhone 5S, with iOS 12 versus iOS 11, you're supposed to see apps opening 50% faster. The keyboard is supposed to pop up 70% faster, and the camera app is supposed to open and get you to a shooting position ready to take a picture legitimately twice as fast as it currently does. So they're claiming, like, and that's on the absolute oldest device that currently supports iOS 11, that will support iOS 12, and they're claiming that, like, up to twice the speed out of this thing in normal everyday use cases such as taking pictures. So that's pretty impressive. And
I like that idea.
If that turns out to be true, then it's yet again kind of the whole thing about everybody. It's all like, oh, Apple and their planned obsolescence. It's like, if they were really planning to obsolete the iPhone 5S, like,
why would they
6
make the
years
software run
after
better?
It's like, if they looked at the iPhone 5S when they released it and said, we're going to make that obsolete in like 6 or 7 years, like, and that's our plan, that's a stupid business plan. Like, that's dumb. Like, that's a really great way to not make money, because, like, it doesn't encourage people to upgrade. So, Apple encourages people to upgrade by adding features that they want to new phones, not by making old phones stop working. And I just wanted to get that out there. This is yet another point. It's like, they're making their software work really great on old devices. That's how Apple does business. They make their customers happy. That's kind of the whole reason that they're still in business. Okay, so bunch of new features besides just speed improvements that they have added. They actually worked with Adobe and a bunch of other 3D animation and 3D people to create a file format for augmented reality files. It's called USDZ. Support is going to be in Creative Cloud before this version of the software is released. And it's basically just allows you to take augmented reality assets and have a file format that you can use to easily share them across platforms. So you'll be able to take it from your iPhone and share it to Adobe programs on your desktop, and probably you'll be able to use it in Android too, I would suspect, because it sounds like this isn't just Apple making up a file format. It sounds like this is Apple working with the consortium of the software developers who work in this space to generate an industry standard file format. So
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, so support for that's coming with iOS 12. Along with that, they are going to be releasing their first augmented reality app. Technically, Apple doesn't actually have an AR app that you can download, but they're going to be making one. It's called Measure, and
yes, this looks awesome.
It does look really cool. You've seen like measurement apps that use ARKit and ARCore on both iOS and Android. They work pretty well. It's a cool thing. You basically just kind of scan the environment, and then you can use your phone to like measure distances between 2 points and that kind of thing. And it's just that, except a little bit more polished than any of the other ones I've seen, because Apple has all the money and all the developers. So they can just
the nice thing with this, like, I mean, obviously those third-party apps work well, but if you're on an iPhone, this may as well be the one you want to use, because it's going to be even more optimized for the software and the hardware that it's running on.
Yep. And that's kind of that is so frequently the case with Apple's built-in apps, is people use them because they're already there and they do a good job. Are there other apps out there that do some things better? Sure. That pretty much always. But you kind of have to go seek those out, and then you have to hunt them down, and then they don't integrate with your system quite as well as Apple's version does, even if they do have a couple of features that you might want. And so the vast majority of people are going to be served just fine by Apple's offerings. And I think for AR apps like this, I suspect that that's probably what we'll see, is that Apple will look at all of these great, innovative ideas that are being developed by the developer community, and then they're probably going to buy them out. They're going to buy them, and then they're going to integrate them into their operating system, and then that's the version that Apple's customers will use. And typically, the developers are actually served pretty well by that kind of situation, because Apple does usually buy them out if they're going to be mimicking their product directly. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes
idea.
in the future. But
we want it. Here's money.
Yep. No, all the time. In fact, we're going to talk about one of those apps a little bit later. But first, ARKit 2, also talked about that. Actually, along with the USDZ file format, that kind of plays into ARKit 2, which now gives you object persistence and shared experience, which is, so you can have multiple devices that are existing in kind of the same augmented reality frame, looking at the same thing from different perspectives and so on and so forth. So that's been added to ARKit 2, so we'll be seeing those apps coming to iOS soon.
And I actually, I didn't mention this before because I didn't really think it was super. I didn't really care that much. But Google has an app that will take advantage of this. They already it's already out there and available on Android and iOS. But I'm assuming with this update, it'll work even better because I can't remember what the app is called. It's one of their Google Experience or Experiment or whatever, one of those apps. And what it does, the video they showed is two people playing tic-tac-toe. They basically drew this big tic-tac-toe board on their screen. Looks like it's in midair, and then they can each walk around it and place their thing wherever they want it to go, and they're working together on two separate devices.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is I like Apple doing this because it's just going to make apps like that work better.
Yeah. Well,
they kind of work, but they're not great at the moment.
And that's kind of the thing. Google can do that because Google has it. Like Apple, they have all the money and all the developers, and they can just throw people at the problem until it's solved. And I'm sure that Google had to come up with some kind of really unique, kind of crazy workaround in order to get it to work on iOS devices. But with ARKit 2, this is Apple's first-party API, which means that any developer who wants to do this will have simple tools sitting right there in the API they can just plug into and it'll work. They don't actually have to build the entire thing from the ground up by themselves. So that's pretty cool. They did a demo with a Lego app that kind of built off of this, where you can scan a set. You can have multiple people that'll scan the same set, and then they connect their apps to each other, and then they're both playing in this shared Lego environment.
I like that idea.
Virtual buildings and virtual Lego people and stuff, and it looked pretty cool.
Now, what I want this to do is throw in a mobile Lego game, like Lego Batman or something like that. So you can have those characters come in, and they're gonna do their own little thing.
Yeah.
While you're building something, they can interact with what you just built and stuff like that.
I mean, Batman was totally in it. They dropped Batman into the world. It kind of had some game-like elements to it, to where it builds this little city up around your set, and you can interact with the people in it, and they'll give you little quests, and you can go hunting and searching for things and that kind of thing. It felt a little bit like a video game, which is cool. Ooh. And it was cool technology. It was a cool tech demo for sure. For me personally, I just thought
of something that would be really cool with this. Roller Coaster Tycoon.
See, that would be dope.
That would be awesome.
That would be
AR Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yeah.
Although for something like that, I think I would want a headset of some sort.
Yeah.
Over a phone. But either way, that would be rad.
That would be.
Yep. Yeah. For me personally, this kind of thing kind of ruins the appeal of Legos. Treat it like a video game, and it's a video game. Cool. Legos are not supposed to be a video game. Legos are about being creative and imagining something and then building it. So having the world pre-built around whatever set it is you just bought, I don't know. That's not my cup of tea. That's not why I played with Legos, but it was a really cool tech demo.
Well, you didn't have this sweet when you played with Legos.
That's definitely true. That is definitely true.
I do agree with you in that sense, because I'm the same way. I love playing with Legos. And I mean, this would be kind of cool. It's something that I would probably play around with a little bit, but not a ton. Because I like you. I like the physical aspect of Legos.
Oh, yeah.
But I do like what they're doing here and being able to, just add to the experience a little bit. But again, I'm waiting more on the AR side of things for when there's a headset I can use rather than using my phone.
Yeah, and
That is cool.
I mean, that's coming, but but obviously they weren't introducing hardware at this event, so, we didn't.
That'd be kind of a cool addition to a game that's coming out next week. I know this is a little gaming, but that Jurassic World Evolution.
Oh, yeah.
You go your own Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool. It'd be like set up a park, and then you can have people with headsets or phones walk through your park or something. And
yeah,
that'd be kind of fun. Sorry, that was where I was going with it. That'd be cool. Somehow to show even like a city builder game. Like if you sit there and build a city, then you can have some people walk through it or whatnot, and actually show their avatar in your city walk through while you're building or something. I don't know. That actually sounds really fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of possibility for it. And as we see these APIs get built out by companies like Apple and Google, it makes it a lot easier for little indie developers to get in there and start creating some of these neat ideas. So it's cool to see. And yeah, it's like people have criticized Apple for not like going whole hog into AR and creating all of these great apps and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is they're giving the developers the tools they need to create the great apps. Like they want the developers to do it. They want everybody else. They want the world to take care of the problem. They're just providing us with tools. And
and that's the way they need to go, because the problem, like when Apple creates apps for things like this, generally they're only going to be for their devices, which isn't a bad thing, but it closes off that world a little bit.
Yeah.
And giving the tools for developers makes it so they can do this everywhere and make it even more accessible to everybody. And Apple is getting more and more like that, where they just want things to be out there for people to use to better their environment and better their experience and stuff like that.
Yep. And there were a lot of happy developers about just improvements to the APIs and Apple just giving them a lot more access to do a lot more things in the operating system. In fact, actually, another API that Apple introduced is related to password completion. They expanded that and made it so that their own system, Keychain, is going to work a little bit better and can work across apps and that kind of thing. But it's not just improvements to Keychain. It's an API that allows all developers to tap into that. So LastPass, 1Password, they're going to be able to use it. Their apps are going to get better. And it's really cool that, we see lots of that API improvement as opposed to just Apple releasing a bunch of first-party software.
That's awesome, because, again, that reminds me of what Google did in Oreo with... It's basically the exact same thing as what Google did in Oreo. They put an API out there for apps to take advantage of their version of Keychain, I guess, And so, like, with LastPass, I mean, me and Wes have talked about this before, but it's awesome. It just pops up automatically and just works in any app, because LastPass has been one of those apps to take advantage of that in Android. And so having that option in iOS now is going to be way cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Moving on. We have a lot of ground to cover. They made some improvements to Photos, basically just like AI searching improvements. It's the Photos app is adequate if you want to search photos and that kind of thing, but their AI in there does still kind of pale in comparison to the Google Photos app and the Google Assistant built into that. But I don't know. It's adequate. Again, it's the stock app. Most people are going to use that. If you're using it, you're not really going to be disappointed with it, probably. But, Siri.
It's good enough for the average person.
Yes, totally is. So Siri, they made some improvements to Siri just kind of in general. They were nice. They've talked a lot about her integration into stuff, and they built out her API so that developers can integrate more closely with Siri, which is nice. Overall, as, an adequate improvement to the assistant. But they also introduced the Shortcuts app. And what this is if anybody is familiar with the Automator app, it's an iOS app, or no, not Automator. Automator is a Mac OS app, actually, that's really cool and very similar to this. So Workflow is an iOS app that was developed by a third-party developer years ago, basically gives you the ability to create scripts on your phone that allow you to string together a series of actions in various apps that you trigger with a single button press, and then it does something. The kinds of things you could do with this is like if you have an image in one app that you need to export to a certain image type or image size, and then import it into another app, and then resize that image and save that one into a different place or something. Like, that's like 5 or 6 different steps, no matter how good the apps are built. That takes you some time. You could build that into a workflow via this workflow app. Now, Apple bought that app, bought the company that developed that app a couple of years ago, and apparently since then they've been working on this shortcuts thing. It is basically the same kind of thing as workflow, except with more, like with deeper integration that takes advantage of the AI APIs that Apple has built out for Siri and allows you to pre-record phrases for Siri that you can use to trigger these workflows. So it actually kind of allows you to take all of the areas where Siri feels inadequate in comparison to Google Assistant and build your own shortcut with your own catchphrase in order to make Siri do that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is
I like that.
It's pretty cool. Like, it's actually it's the feature I feel like Siri needed in order to actually compete in this space. Because how often do you ask Siri to do something and she doesn't quite do it and you're like, that's really dumb. Well, now you can just kind of set up your own workflow for her to do that thing and she'll do it. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, I think, like obviously for people like us, this is going to be really cool.
Oh, heck yeah.
But for like the average person, I don't see most people putting in the effort up front to make it easier in the long run for them. Because they're, I mean, maybe more people might, but if it's not something that's like advertised, I guess that's the wrong word, but if they don't necessarily know that it's there, then I don't know how many people are going to try and use it.
I think that most people probably don't need it. Most people probably are fine just like, they don't really need to do anything on their mobile devices that is more than just a couple of taps away for any given app that suits that purpose. And so in this case, really the only thing they'd be getting out of the Shortcuts app is the ability to trigger those things with a voice command, where they may not be able to do that normally. Which is, I mean, that's pretty fair. You basically just pull up, and like one of the common ones that I've seen is people who want to be able to control like Spotify using their voice on HomePod, for instance, which is not something that you can do with Siri on the HomePod. But if you can create a shortcut on your mobile device that you can access via the HomePod, then you should be able to set it up so that you can basically tell Siri to play whatever is playing in Spotify. Or maybe even search for something in Spotify and start playing it, and then just use the media playback functionality that's built into Siri to control the music from there, which it's not going to be as integrated as Apple Music is, obviously, with the HomePod, but it would give people who don't have Apple Music a little bit more of that Siri integration that they're missing with the HomePod, which for them is basically just a Bluetooth speaker that they have to control everything from their phone.
Yeah.
So There's a few things like that might be able to kind of fill out the interior of Apple's walled garden a little bit by just giving users the ability to control more things by themselves and making it easy for everyday people. Because, I mean, basically, if you wanted to do that stuff before, like any of those things that I just said, you had to go build your own app to do it. And then, even then, still might not be possible because most of the time you can't really play back and forth between apps in iOS. So, it's cool. It's cool that it's there. For me personally, if anybody who has used macOS has had experience with AppleScript or Automator, you'll know that that is a really simple to use scripting tool that gives lay people like me who don't really know anything about programming the ability to create small programs on their computer that do very specific tasks and do them quickly and do them well. And that's kind of what the Shortcuts app is the ability to automate specific workflows on your mobile device and then trigger them via Siri. So it's cool. It remains to be seen exactly how much power you get out of this, but I have high hopes that it's going to be similar to what Automator gives you on the desktop. And that's pretty cool.
Now, so this is just a Siri API, right?
It's actually a dedicated app.
Oh, okay. And it's just on the phone.
It should be on the iPad too. iOS in general. Yeah.
Okay. Because where I think I would use it the most and where I think most people would use it the most would be on the Mac.
Yes.
And, I mean,
Yes.
as I know you're going to get to later with what they're trying to do with iOS apps on Mac, you would think that they could throw this onto the Mac because Siri is there.
Siri is on the Mac already. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that would be where I would use it a lot more. And where, again, I think most people would probably use it because there's a lot more things that you would do on a desktop that would be awfully convenient if you could just say a certain phrase and it just does those 5 or 6 different things for you.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Siri's already there, so they already have the voice command there. But even if Siri wasn't there, the voice command has already been there for ages. Technically, you've always been able to trigger an Automator script via a voice command in Mac OS if you wanted to. And Automator scripts are, I mean, they're maybe a little bit more complicated than this Shortcuts app is going to be. And so maybe what they really need to do is just update the Automator script creation UI and stuff like that to kind of match what we're used to. But it seems like the next natural step. I totally expect that to happen next WWDC is they'll be like, look, Shortcuts is really cool. We've been having lots of fun with it this past year. And now it's on the Mac. It's replacing Automator. It does the exact same thing, except makes it easier for you to trigger stuff via Siri. And hopefully also introduces the catchphrase to trigger Siri, because that is still not a thing on the Mac. And I think that's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
Okay. So they also updated the News app, the Stocks app, the Voice Memo app, and the iBooks app. Basically, they just redesigned all of those. Oh, and they renamed iBooks Apple Books because, of course they did.
Yeah.
Turds. Anyways. Yeah, those were all just kind of like visual refreshes that I was like, why are you talking about those right now in the keynote? But actually made more sense later, but we'll talk about that then.
I'm just waiting for them to rename iPhone the Apple phone. I don't think it'll ever happen because the name is iconic, but
they better not. That would be a bad idea.
Something they would do. Look, this is the Apple phone.
Yeah, we'll see. So they also introduced some third-party navigation app support for CarPlay, which is, cool. And then kind of one of the big ticket items for iOS 12 was digital addiction stuff. So there was a lot of people whining about digital addiction going into this, which, first of all, I just want to say there's no actual scientific backing for digital addiction. There is scientific backing for people spending a lot of time on their mobile phones being signs of other problems, like depression or other addictive tendencies and that kind of thing. But being addicted to digital devices isn't a thing the way media outlets want it to be. That being said, Apple does recognize that people do spend a lot of time on their phones, and so basically what they wanted to do is give people a set of tools similar to what Android has done that give them a way to monitor how much time they're spending on their phone and kind of manage it a little bit better. So they've kind of introduced some distraction management features. The first one is Do Not Disturb During Bedtime, which hides app notifications on your phone. So if you use your phone as your clock on your nightstand or something like that, and you wake up in the middle of the night and you check your time, if you've gotten a whole bunch of notifications during the night, normally Do Not Disturb just prevents your phone from buzzing. It prevents the notification from sounding out, but the notifications still pop up on the lock screen, so you see them if you check your time. It won't do that anymore. If you've got Do Not Disturb During Bedtime turned on, those will be hidden automatically. Do Not Disturb also has the ability to set end times for when you just trigger it. Like normally it's the kind of thing where you can set it to turn on at one time, turn off at another time. That's it. So what they're giving you more granularity there. So if you go into Control Center and turn on Do Not Disturb, then it'll give you the option to turn it on for an hour, turn it on for 2 hours, or turn it on until tomorrow, stuff like that. Along with that, they've changed the way that notifications interact on, like the way you can interact with notifications on the lock screen. They're calling it instant tuning, which means that if you see a notification on the lock screen for an app that you really don't want to see notifications on the lock screen for, you can swipe on that notification. It gives you an option to change the setting for that right there, so that you don't have to go digging into settings to try and say, no, I don't want to see these notifications on my lock screen or in my notification center or whatever. You can change it right there. And finally, they have grouped notifications from apps, which why did this take so long? So if you have 1 million Facebook notifications, they'll appear in a stack instead of 1 million Facebook notifications all in a row. Yeah. So that's lovely.
Yay.
Okay, a couple more things. They did, they introduced screen time, is what they're calling the feature. Basically, it tracks how you use your time on your phone. So anytime the phone is on, screen is on, it's looking at how much time you're spending in which apps and that kind of thing. It compiles a report that you can view in settings, and also that it will email to you, which is kind of nice. And along with that, they introduced app limits, which allows you to kind of say, I only want to be on Facebook for 3 hours a day, or if you have a huge problem being on Facebook or something like that. And it'll track down the time. It'll send you a notification to let you know when you're getting close to your maximum amount of time that you wanted. And then once you hit that time, the app grays out. Like, not just like grays out the icon or something like that. Like if you open up the app, you get a screen that is blank and just says, you have exceeded your time on this app for today. You can dismiss that. You can just tap and go into the app anyways if you want to. But it's pretty like in your face about saying, hey, no, time's up.
Now that's actually cool.
That's great. Kind of blocks access, and those time limits and stuff like that sync across devices. So if I've got Facebook on my phone and on my iPad, and I say I only want to spend 3 hours on Facebook a day, that means 3 hours total, not 3 hours on my phone and 3 hours on my iPad. It will track my time across both devices and keep that in sync for me. What's cool about that is it's all like, okay, so that's in iCloud. That also ties into activity notifications for kids, which means that if you've got kids' devices set up in your family and family sharing on iOS, you see their screen time reports. They will get sent to you automatically instead of just to them. And you'll get notifications for their allowances. You can set allowances for them, for how long they're allowed to spend in which apps and that kind of thing. You can manage that kind of based on per app or by category. You can set a time limit for their access to the device as a whole per day. You can limit their access to sites and specific apps and that kind of thing, as well as control like whether or not they can download and delete apps to begin with. It's just like a whole lot more robust parental controls for iOS devices, which have been on the Mac for like decades. And it's about freaking time we got some of this stuff on iOS devices, because like, you know, you can't like, oh, I'm just going to give my kids an iPad because, oh, then they have access to the everything that ever, and you can't really control it, except now you can. iOS 12 finally gives you a lot of those tools that you've been lacking. That's fantastic. I'm really stoked about that. So it's cool, like digital addiction, time management stuff for yourself also gives parents a lot of control over what their kids are doing on their devices, and that's awesome.
Yeah. You know, I really like all of this stuff, and it's like all the stuff you just mentioned, obviously, like we've talked about it with Android because Google did a whole big thing at their keynote as well, talking it's all basically the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's a good thing. And I'm really glad that both major platforms are taking this type of stuff seriously. I mean, like you said, there's no scientific thing about device addiction, but it is something that can lead to or is because of something more serious.
Yes.
And that is something that definitely needs to be addressed more and more.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that these companies are doing something to help in that regard.
Yeah. And really, it's the kind of thing where it gives you tools to monitor your own usage. And it's like, to me, I know that excessive use of electronic devices can be indicative of some kind of personal depression. I know that because I've experienced it, and I know a lot of people that have experienced it. And it's like, it's really nice to be able to like look at reports that say, wow, your use of your phone has really skyrocketed over the past month or something like that. Or you're getting notifications every day. It's all like, you're spending way too much time on Instagram and that kind of thing. Like, maybe you should back it off a little bit. That's not necessarily telling me I'm doing anything wrong with my phone, but it is telling me personally that my usage has changed. Maybe I need to think about, like, maybe I need to do a little introspecting and that kind of thing and figure out why my usage has changed, because, I don't know, like, maybe I should be getting some professional help because of something, or, you know, that kind of thing. It's a nice tool to have, just to be able to monitor yourself and kind of just keep track of what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I was really like that. Between that and shortcuts, those were probably my two highlights of at least the iOS portion of the event, and actually maybe the entire event. But, you know, because people care about other things, messages, they updated messages. Animoji now have tongue detection. So if you stick your tongue out,
Sweet.
then your Animoji will stick their tongue out. And on top of that, now you can create memojis.
This is basically like Samsung's version.
Yeah.
But except these are a little better.
Yeah, not as terrifying as Samsung's version.
Yeah. I did notice the eye detection on these things was surprisingly accurate. And
it's kind of creepy. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was
really
cool, but yeah, kind of creepy. Which, I mean, that's tech in general. I mean, I'm a Google guy, so everything Google does is really cool, but kind of creepy.
That's fair. Yep. It was an interesting little portion of the event. That being said, they did show a little Craig Federighi memoji, and it was pretty adorable, I got to admit.
It did have good hair as well.
It totally was fantastic. So they've got also like filters and stickers and stuff like that you can add to your Animoji while it's running, and now you can slap your Animoji over top of your own head like a bobblehead, put stickers on the scene, and then record video of yourself and send that to people. You know,
see, that's where it got the most creepy.
Communicate. Yeah, a little bit. It was a little strange. Another actually really sweet thing that took way too long, FaceTime is getting support for group FaceTime calling. So you can now call multiple people via FaceTime if you all got Apple devices. And most of my family has Apple devices, and so it really is not uncommon for us to be like, wow, we've got like 3 people or 4 people here that we want to all get together. Everybody's got iPhones, everybody's got iPads. Why can't we all just FaceTime at the same time? No, we have to FaceTime like one person on somebody's phone and then one person on an iPad and then another person on another iPad and stuff like that. And we got like 6 different FaceTime instances going on. It's really dumb. Now you can FaceTime conference with up to 32 people, which is dadgum. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of knew in the back of my mind that this wasn't there, but at the same time, I'm like, wait, why wasn't that there?
Right?
Because it's one of those things. It's like that just should be there.
Yeah,
but
totally should.
Whatever, I'm glad it's there now, or will be. So
I mean, back when FaceTime was first a thing, like nobody could do that, and so it was just the fact that this was a competitor for Skype that was way easier to use than Skype was good enough. But
yeah,
now there's stuff like Google Hangouts, which allows you to group FaceTime or group video conference and stuff like that. So yeah, it's about time. It's really about time. So that wraps up iOS 12 finally. Fortunately, the next 2 OSs should go pretty quick. watchOS 5. Let's talk about watchOS for a second, shall we?
Okay.
I don't actually care about this. That's yeah. But They made some enhancements for workout accuracy, not surprising. They have added yoga and hiking as specific workout types, which is woohoo. The watch has always had a raise to wake feature where you lift your wrist up and it turns the screen on. Now when you do that, you don't need to say the catchphrase for Siri in order to get her to trigger. You just raise the thing up and Siri will automatically start listening as soon as you raise your wrist. So cool. Notifications are more interactive. They're introducing a podcast app directly to the watch, so you can manage your podcast that you're listening to from the watch instead of having to do it from your phone.
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice. They introduced walkie-talkie functionality. So that's now an app on there. So if you've got two people that have Apple Watches, you pull up the walkie-talkie for that person, you tap talk and hold it down and just talk. And it's just like a walkie-talkie. I mean,
Yeah.
Now, I mean, this is one of those things that I'm kind of surprised again that just wasn't there upon launch.
yeah.
Because it makes sense. But my question is the message that you send to the other person just going to start playing, or does it notify them first? Because I could see that causing problems.
It's real time. So, like, you have to trigger a conversation with them, and then it's basically like making a phone call on your watch, except they can't hear you unless you're holding your button down. That's pretty much what it is.
So initially, you get a notification that says this person wants to talk,
right?
And then it's back and forth like normal.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's good, because I could see, I could really mess with certain people if I had an Apple Watch. It's like, hey, I know they're in a meeting right now. This will be fun.
Yeah. Yep. You could do that, but no, they did think at least that far into it.
That's good.
And yeah, so the full demo that they did with watchOS 5 was actually done by an executive on an exercise bike doing a workout, so you could see some of the workout improvements and stuff. It was actually it was a good demo. Nice just to show us that, yes, we actually are doing workouts in order to develop this software. And for the first time, watchOS has dropped support for a device. The very, very first Apple Watch, so not the Series 1, but the original, the Series 0, first year Apple Watch, is not going to support watchOS 5.
Again, naming.
Which is kind of actually interesting, because that was also the only generation of the Apple Watch that you could spend $10,000 on. So bet those people are feeling kind of stupid right about now.
Well, they should have been feeling stupid, right after they bought the dang thing.
Yeah.
Yep. Like the people who pay, $1 million for a diamond encrusted iPhone. I'm just like, I mean, first of all, that's last year's model. Like, yeah. You're buying an iPhone 6S. The 7 is out.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyways.
Okay.
Those people are crazy. Let's just put it that way. Okay. tvOS. So this is tvOS 12, because they decided not to start counting at 1 for tvOS. So basically, the big thing is they've introduced Dolby Atmos support for Apple TV. And iTunes purchases that you already have that get updated with Dolby Atmos support in the iTunes Store, your purchases will be automatically upgraded, kind of the same way they did with the 4K versions of everything last year. So that's pretty cool. They also introduced a zero sign-on feature. So they have a single sign-on feature, which means you sign in with your cable provider or something in one place, and it should then sign on using those credentials for every app that you download. So basically, this is getting rid of that initial sign-on. If your Apple TV is on the network that is being provided through the internet connection from your cable connection or your satellite TV people, it was a little weird how they were doing it. But basically, if I have Comcast, and I've got Comcast for my cable and my internet, and I've got my Apple TV connected to that internet connection, it automatically detects that I'm connected to Comcast and goes, oh, we're going to sign you into Comcast. And then it just does that automatically and then uses those credentials to sign into all of the apps that I download.
That's nice.
So that's kind of the theory, meaning that you never have to sign in with your TV provider in order to get access to all the TV provider specific stuff in those apps. So that's cool. They also added password autofill from the iOS app. So if you've got the remote app downloaded on your phone and you pull that thing up, you can use the keyboard on the phone to enter passwords into those fields. But now you can also autofill passwords for stuff like Netflix that you already have saved on your phone. That goes along with the improved password API in iOS 12, which means you should be able to do the same thing with passwords stored in 1Password or LastPass and stuff like that as well.
Very cool.
Yes.
They also made some updates to some of the screensavers and various interface things. One of the cool things, so they have like a flyover screensaver that they do on the Apple TV, which is pretty cool. They've added a new one, which is pictures or video from the International Space Station, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, I did see that.
I might start using that one just because that sounds cool.
I mean, those videos already are really, really pretty and really cool. But yeah, that I've seen one of these online, and man, it's pretty cool.
You get that onto your big screen TV and stuff like that. It's all like you'll like sit down on your couch and pick up the remote and be like, oh, I don't want to watch TV. I'm just going to watch space for a minute.
Yeah. Now, what they ought to do, I mean, obviously these right now are silent. But if they give an option with ambient noise, like, so if you're watching the video of, like, the beach, which they have, it's got, like, the ocean sounds, or if it's things like that. That cool. Would be really cool.
That'd be so cool. Relaxing.
Man. Right? That would be amazing.
Is it weird that it would be relaxing for me to watch and hear, like, old arcade sounds? Like, if you're in an arcade, you just hear the old, like, pinball sounds.
No, I get that.
I think that would be awesome.
That would be cool.
I think
okay, so that's tvOS 12. That was pretty much it.
Cool.
Okay, so Mac OS, and this is the big one because this one isn't a number. I mean, there is a number associated with it.
But nobody cares about the number.
10.14. I think 10.14 or 10.15. I can't remember. Anyways, the new name of Mac OS for this next year is Mojave. It's named after the Mojave Desert. So, along with that...
Now, my question is, did they give, like, a whole developers getting high type thing like they have the past couple of years?
Craig did make a crack about the developers coming down from high places and yeah, like finally suggesting that, yes, our marketing people are sober this year. And so they picked something that wasn't a mountain because it's been 4 years. We had Mavericks, which is a beach, and then we had Yosemite, which is in the mountains, and El Cap, which is literally a mountain, and then Sierra, which just means mountain, and then High Sierra, which just means tall mountain. Like, it's just been mountain, 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 and so now we're in the desert, that's a pretty stark change. And he introduced...
means you cannot use liquid cooling on this Mac.
There you go. Yeah, you will ruin the ecological balance of your Mac if you liquid cool it. So this is probably the thing that got the biggest cheer from all the developers in the audience, and he introduced it by saying, inspired by the desert at night. System-wide dark mode. Finally a thing. There's been the option to turn the title bar and the dock dark. That's been around for a couple of years, or a year. 2 years, I want to say. But now it also applies to all of the program windows, and all of Apple's first-party apps now support that system-wide dark mode, including Xcode. And that's the thing all the developers were like, yes, Xcode in dark mode, which is cool. I guess they do a lot of coding in dark rooms or something. I don't know. I like it the way it is, but that's just me. Along with that, they introduced a dynamic desktop set of wallpapers, which is basically wallpapers that change to match the time of day. So if it's early morning, you've got a shot of the desert in the early morning. And then so on and so forth as it progresses throughout the day until nighttime, you get a shot of the desert at night. And so that's kind of a cool wallpaper thing. I'll probably try it out.
Yeah, like these, they have these on Android, like they have different locations, kind of the same idea. They have one of Delicate Arch in Moab, Utah. That's really cool, and it gets darker as it gets later in the day. But they have one that I've actually used. It's like it kind of makes it look like a sunset, but it doesn't use the time of day. It goes off your battery percentage. So when your battery is more fully charged, it's like daytime, and the lower your battery gets, the darker the screen gets. Or the more like a sunset it gets. It's really cool.
That is pretty cool.
I like that idea.
Okay, another thing they introduced, stacks on the desktop. So, anybody who's been paying attention, you've probably known that for Mac OS you have these little things in the dock called stacks. Typically, you start out with your Documents folder and your Downloads folder down there, where it's basically all of the files in those things just kind of stacked up on top of each other that you can click on and expand and look at all that stuff. It's a convenient thing to have on the dock, particularly for downloads, at least the way I use it. So basically what they're going to do is they're going to stack all of the files on your desktop up, and you can stack them based on time they were created, file type, stuff like that, but it'll just take you got all your PDFs. Say you have 15 PDFs on your desktop, it'll stack them all on top of each other. You click on the stack, and you can select the file that you want, and you can scrub through the stack using gestures on the trackpad or on your mouse, and select individual files without having to click on it to drag those around and do stuff. So, it's kind of a neat thing, just basically a desktop organizational tool. I don't really keep anything on my desktop at all unless I'm working on it immediately, so I never have more than 4 or 5 things on my desktop at any given time. So I probably won't really notice much difference, but for people who do use their desktop a ton, that might actually help a lot in terms of being able to find stuff quickly. Let's see. They also introduced Gallery View in the Finder, which for those of you that remember CoverFlow, it's kind of that, except with it's basically Preview mixed with CoverFlow. So the CoverFlow section up at the top is also an interactable preview of the file, which cool.
Interesting.
CoverFlow has been there forever. They introduced that in iTunes way back in the day, 10.4 or 10.5, I want to say. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is kind of just a refinement of that. To go along with quick look preview stuff and the stuff they've done in the Finder, there are now quick actions in the Finder, meaning that you can... Okay, so this was actually kind of cool. They selected a PDF and then a bunch of pictures, and then just created a PDF from that with a single click of a button, which is normally the kind of thing you can do that easily with Preview, but you have to open up Preview and then you have to add a bunch of things to it, and it's a pretty manual process. So this gives you the ability to do those kinds of quick actions right there in the gallery view. That was specific to the gallery view. It also actually gave you the ability to customize those actions and pick what buttons are showing up there. So, talking about Automator, if you've got an Automator script that you want to apply to a bunch of files at once, you basically create the Automator script, you can put a button for it in this little quick actions thing, and then select all the files you want, click that button, and it goes. So that's pretty slick, and is one of those things that this is why every time I go back to a Windows PC and I start using Windows Explorer, I'm just literally all this thing is doing is showing me files. It doesn't give me the ability to do anything with them, and that's kind of lame. Finder does all kinds of crazy stuff.
That is cool.
Really, that's mostly a difference between this is a Unix-based operating system and this is a DOS-based, kind of pseudo-DOS-based operating system.
Yeah.
But, okay. Oh, yes. Quick look, the quick preview. So if you select a file in macOS, you hit space, it pops up a little preview of it. Most of the time, if it's a document or something like that, it gives you the ability to read the entire thing right there. You can now do markup right there in the quick look preview of that file, which is cool. Screenshots. So screenshots have always been built into macOS. You can trigger it with a hotkey. They've added a little bit more granularity into what you can do from the hotkeys. That'll pop up a little screenshot UI that'll let you decide whether or not you want to do the whole screen or just drag in a crop portion of the screen, or if you want to capture of the active window or something like that. So that's kind of been added. They've also given you the ability to mark it up just like you can in iOS right when you take it. So you take the screenshot, it'll pop up down in the bottom corner. You can click on it, you can do markup stuff with it, and then share it right from there, and then delete the thing without ever having to save it to your desktop, which is a way that like a lot of people use screenshots, is just to quickly capture an image and then send it to somebody else, and then they don't want to have it hang around, and so it just removes a couple of steps there of having to manually do markup if you need to do that, and then manually delete it after the fact. Also, along with that, screen capture, video capture, something you've always been able to do through QuickTime, at least recent versions of QuickTime. That's now, you don't have to go through QuickTime, that's built into the screenshot functionality. So you basically just pull that up, hit record screen, and away you go. Okay, man. There were a lot of features. It was like a 2-hour and 17-minute long event. And I thought for sure I was going to be super bored, but they had a lot to talk about. Okay, continuity camera. So continuity is a series of features that allow macOS and iOS to tie together very closely. Continuity camera basically gives you the ability to take pictures and scan documents using your phone's camera without having to do anything on the phone. So you basically just like say, hey, I want to scan a document from your Mac. It triggers the camera on your phone. You get everything lined up and you hit the shutter button and it saves it to your Mac. Doesn't ever save it to your phone or do anything on your phone, which is pretty cool. And considering the quality of the webcams built into most Macs,
yeah,
that's pretty fantastic. It is nowhere near as good as the cameras on my phone.
Heck, the camera on the front of your phone's better than most Mac webcams.
Oh yeah, and that's actually kind of the thing. Like I'm sitting here thinking about like like FaceTime calls and that kind of thing. But in particular, like if you need to take a selfie for a Facebook profile picture or something like that, and you're on your computer and it's all like, hey, take a selfie, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to use the stupid webcam up above the screen though. I'm going to use my dadgum phone because that's so much better.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of a neat addition. Now, I mentioned in iOS 12 that they updated a bunch of apps with redesigned interfaces and stuff like that, and how it didn't really seem that important. That was until they said that the News app, Stocks app, Voice Memos app, and Home app are all coming to macOS. So those are a bunch of Apple's native apps that have been on iOS for a really long time, some of them since the very beginning, and they're coming to the Mac, which doesn't really seem that cool, but we'll talk about why that's cool in a minute. Okay, they also talked about security. Safari is getting more secure, File Vault is getting more secure, faster, and easier to use. That's all cool. They redesigned the Mac App Store to more closely match the iOS App Store, which finally, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that definitely needed an upgrade.
Oh yeah, it was bad. Office 365 is actually going to be on the Mac App Store soon, which...
I did see that.
I mean, cool. I might use it through there for work just because that means I don't have to have Microsoft updating stuff and Apple updating stuff at like different times and that kind of thing. If I get it all through the same place, that would be kind of nice. And they introduced something called Create ML, which is a machine learning training application. That's very much a thing for developers. Users will never use this, but suffice it to say, it means that the developers developing apps for your devices are going to be able to make smarter apps that do more like Google Assistant type things without having to spend an enormous amount of money up front, which just kind of opens the doors for more small developers to do cooler stuff with machine learning. And so that's pretty cool. Okay, so technically speaking, Mojave supports all Macs mid-2012 or later, as well as some Mac Pros from 2009 and 2010, assuming that your graphics card has been updated to support Metal 2. So, That does mean that my MacBook Pro is not going to be supported when the update drops this fall. It was a good 7 years. It was a good 7 years, but yes, now I need a new computer. The plus side, though, is that 7 years on, the computer is still going strong. I'm not going to be getting rid of it. I'm not going to stop using it. And the Mojave actually deprecates support for OpenGL, which, again, most people probably don't care about this, but this is a graphics API that allows you to game developers and game engines use graphics APIs to work. So OpenGL is used by pretty much everything up until the past couple of years when they started switching over to Metal. So older games that have not been updated in the past couple of years, of which I own several, they'll keep running on my laptop because I can't update to Mojave. I mean, technically they'll probably still run under Mojave too, but because they've deprecated support for OpenGL, who knows how long that's going to work, because this is also the last version of macOS that's going to support 32-bit apps. Apple loves to kill that kind of thing.
Yes.
So, the very last thing that Craig talked about was a quick sneak peek, and we'll talk about, this is a little bit why the news and stocks and voice memos and stuff like that being on macOS is kind of cool. iOS apps running under macOS.
Yeah.
They demoed a little sneak peek of that. Basically what they're doing, it was actually kind of funny because Craig was all like, I just wanted to address the question that we get every year. Are we going to merge iOS and macOS? And I know we've answered this a lot, but I'll say it again. No! Giant slide N-O period on the screen behind him. It's just like, yeah, they're not going to do it. But they are taking some pieces of UIKit, which is the base API for iOS development, and they're adding those pieces to AppKit, which is the base API for Mac development. And what they're kind of trying to do there is just make it so that the UI for an iOS app can easily be converted to a UI compatible with macOS, with support for keyboards and mice and scroll bars and so on and so forth. So currently, it's there. Like, they've made the changes already. They've made the additions. It's there. They're testing it with news and voice memos and stocks and so forth. Those were all just the iOS versions of those apps that they just ported directly into macOS. So they're testing it out with those apps first on their own end, and then next year they're going to be releasing those APIs with some refinements to developers so that anybody developing stuff for iOS can supposedly pretty easily port it directly over to macOS. This isn't actually as surprising as a lot of people seem to think it is, because if you go back to the very beginning, one of the big selling points of the iPhone was that the operating system running on it was built on macOS. The whole thing, they share the same kernel, the same underpinnings, that's all the same. So the fact that the core technologies for iOS apps can easily be ported to macOS is not surprising. And so basically what they're doing is just changing the APIs to allow the UI to easily port from one operating system to the other. So, should be seeing more of that next year.
Sweet.
Okay, so that was the end of the keynote. That was everything that they talked about in the keynote. They did a couple of more demos and stuff like that after Craig was done on the stage, and Tim came out and said some things, and I didn't really pay attention. None of the words that he used were one more thing, so I didn't pay attention. There were a couple of details that came out of WWDC after the keynote. One of them is that we kind of talked about this a little bit before, but this is confirmed now. iOS 12 has a setting that you can activate. It's not on by default, but you can turn it on, that disables USB data after the phone has been locked for an hour. So if your phone has been locked for an hour, it turns off data access via the USB port, which means that you have to unlock the phone in order to do anything through the Lightning port in terms of data access, which means that the devices that plug into your phone and then install software via the Lightning port to brute force hack their way past your passcode, they won't work.
Yeah.
As long as it takes them more than an hour to get your phone plugged into it.
Right.
So that's kind of cool. Yes, OpenGL and OpenCL, those have been deprecated, both of them. We already talked a little bit about that. A whole bunch of stupid game developers have been whining about that. None of them were developing anything for Macs anyways, but they're going to whine about it anyways. The people who mostly develop for Mac, like, Blizzard and Aspire and Feral, they've already switched to using Metal for everything. So
yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, pretty much everybody who does regular game development for Macs recognized when Metal came out, oh my gosh, that is so much better than the version of OpenGL that Apple is supporting. We're just going to use that.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
The people who matter, they're already taken care of. The people who don't matter, whatever, they can whine. And let's see. Oh, Mojave puts the software update mechanism for updating your operating system back in the system preferences section of the operating system instead of in the Mac App Store, which, thank you. It was stupid to have that in the Mac App Store.
I didn't know they switched it. Yeah, that is stupid.
Yeah, it's back in system preferences, at least in the developer beta as of right now. Hopefully they leave it there.
Yeah.
Yes, App Store developers can now have free trials for any app instead of just subscription-based apps via an in-app purchase. So basically, if you can download a free app that has 2 in-app purchases, one of them is to unlock the full functionality of the app, costs $5 or something like that. The other one is a free in-app purchase that allows you to try the app for a certain period of time. So that's kind of how they're implementing free trials. Still a little goofy, because that does mean that you can't just make the whole app a paid app and then give them a free trial. So they don't necessarily know that the app is going to be paid when they download it. They find that out after the fact. But yeah,
that's kind of weird.
We're making progress. Up till now, you couldn't have free trials in your app unless it was a subscription service. Let's see, what else? Oh, in an interview about halfway through the week, Craig shot down touchscreen Macs again. That, I don't know, like, people keep asking, and there's never been any hesitation in anybody's response from Apple to say, no, you're not even looking at touchscreen Macs. Like,
if you want a touchscreen Mac, go buy an iPad Pro.
Yep, pretty much.
There you go.
Actually, if you're really crazy, there actually is a company that will build you a touchscreen Mac. They'll take a MacBook Pro and then tear the whole thing apart and put all of the guts and attach them to a touchscreen monitor. And then you can buy that. But it's like $2,000 on top of the $2,000 that you paid for the laptop to begin with. So,
not worth it.
And then you have to use Mac OS from a touchscreen interface, which is just terrible. Like, I don't know why you would want to do that. It's a bad idea. The operating system was not designed for that. It's much worse than Windows, believe me. So, anyways, that was WWDC. All said and done, there was a lot more cool stuff coming out of their software world than I was expecting, especially considering that going into this whole thing, we'd been told so many times this is just stability updates and bug fixes. That's what they're focusing on. And they talked about that a lot. They were making some kind of general use case improvements to some of the apps and then improvements to performance in iOS and stuff like that. So there was a big focus on that for sure, but still a reasonable amount of new features and some stuff that I'm actually pretty psyched about. So there you go.
Yep, makes me want to even more buy a new MacBook Pro.
Yeah, now they just need to introduce some new MacBook Pros.
Yeah, well, the problem is now I don't want to wait until like a November event where they probably would do it, because I don't think they would announce new MacBook stuff at an iPhone event.
No.
And I don't see them having another hardware event before the iPhone event. I mean, they could, but
they could do an August event. Yeah. So they've done like a lot of, so the iPod introductions and stuff like that, those used to happen pretty frequently in August, like early August. And if they were to do a music-focused event based around Apple Music and the HomePod this year, where they'd be launching a a HomePod Mini or a second generation of the HomePod, and then talking about the Apple Music web client and stuff like that. That could potentially happen at the beginning of August, but again, I wouldn't necessarily expect to see Max at that. I would expect that to be like a 45-minute event. Probably wouldn't even be hosted by Tim Cook. Would probably be hosted by Jimmy Iovine, who works with Apple Music and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see, because everybody, like all of the analysts that monitor Apple's supply chain, are still saying we're going to get updated MacBooks. We're going to get updated iMacs this year. So I just don't know when.
Yeah.
But
my problem is I want one now.
Yeah, same here.
I don't want to wait.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know.
No. Well.
Unfortunately, it seems like waiting is always the best play with Apple.
Just never buy anything new.
Yeah, it's you buy right after something is released. That's when you buy Apple devices. It releases, you buy it then, because they're not going to release a new one for at least 6 months.
Especially, well, unless you're talking about like a Mac Pro, then it's going to be at least 5 years.
Oh yeah, there's that too. Yeah. It can go either way. You can buy an iPad 3 and then get an iPad 4 6 months later, or you can buy a Mac Pro in 2013 and then in 2018 you still don't have a viable replacement for it.
Yeah.
It can go either way.
Yep.
It's really exciting.
And really unfortunate.
That's funny. Well, awesome. Well, do we want to go ahead and do some gaming?
I do actually have one piece of gaming news that's kind of ancillarily related to WWDC.
Then make it happen.
So I'll just say it now. At WWDC, Apple released new App Store guidelines, which not terribly surprising. They kind of do that around that time every year. They specifically have new App Store submission guidelines for screen mirroring apps, remote desktop apps. And the way those guidelines are worded, it actually sounds like the Steam Link app might be able to pass review now. It's kind of like they might still need to make a slight tweak to the way the store interface works to basically just make it so that you can like view the store and you can browse the store and you can like add stuff to your wish list and even add stuff to your cart, but you can't actually complete the checkout from the Apple TV. You just have to go to your computer to click OK on the checkout. Yeah, that's kind of what it sounds like, but that shouldn't be a major change for Steam to make. And then once they've done that, Apple has specified that it is okay for a storefront to exist in a screen mirroring app as long as it doesn't look like the App Store, which Steam's store doesn't look anything like the App Store. So that's not a problem.
Yeah.
So, they just need to make that one tweak and then it should be able to pass review. So I'm still holding out hope that I'm not going to need to buy a Steam Link.
Awesome. That is good news, because I know you said that when Steam Link didn't pass, you were like, oh, man.
I was super bummed.
Yes. Well, Landon, why don't you take it away?
Okay, my one bit of gaming news, and we're going to throw it back to 1993, I believe. And I'm actually really excited about this because I had a binder of these little toys back in the day. They're called Pogs.
Oh, yes.
And the official Pog brand is coming back. They have a campaign on Indiegogo right now for a Pogs AR app.
What?
And
Pogs.
I find it odd. Like, the AR functionality is not what you would think. It is not like how... Like, this, I think you could very much so take advantage of that AR kit too, where multiple devices could, play the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And play Pogs that way? No, that's not the way the AR works on this.
Oh.
I'm not entirely sure how the AR works fully on this, but one thing they did show is that if you have Pogs, you can scan those and it'll bring a digital version into your app. So if you still have some, which I think I do somewhere, I had it, like I said, I had
No
a binder,
way.
like a binder made for Pogs with like 50 different Pogs.
That's
Holy cow.
I'm going to have to go find them now.
Wow.
But So like I said, this is on Indiegogo right now. The minimum price, contribution you can do is $5, and that doesn't really get you a whole lot, unfortunately. Most of these, let me just read here really quick. Let me find it. The $5 buy-in will get you the app, obviously. It will also get you, it gets you 3 times your contribution of in-game currency, is what they're saying, in the app. So I don't entirely know what that's going to do for you.
Buy more Pogs.
You can buy Pogs with it, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. The one that they're pushing is the $20 one, and that gets you a gold founder slammer.
Oh.
And from the image, it looks like you actually get a physical slammer.
That would
and
be
then you
so
also
dope.
get one you can scan it and get the app. And this one gets you early access to the game. It gets you founder status, and you can scan your Pogs. So at that level and higher, most of those levels is where you can scan your own Pogs if you still have them. Like the lower ones, and if you get the game later, I don't think you're going to be able to, which is really unfortunate because, I mean, if you still have Pogs, you should be rewarded in some way. Because, I mean, it's been a long time since those have been popular.
Yes.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
still have them, you should get something for that.
Yeah, I agree.
But, like I said, I'm kind of excited for this because I loved Pogs. I played with them all the time back when I was a little kid.
Nostalgia to the max.
Yeah. And I had a bunch, and they were sweet. So I'm interested. I don't think I'm going to back them by any means, especially a $20 one. But
yeah.
when this app is available, I am totally going to download it and try it out. Because, yeah, nostalgia is going to be, it's going to be
Oh, yeah.
quite fun, I think.
I remember at Pogs back in '93. It was Christmas. My parents got us, 3 of us boys, just a bunch of just Pogs. But my dad had a bunch of metal, and he just made us our own big old slammers.
Nice.
And we were the kings of the street for Pogs, man. It was awesome. Like, bop, mine. Nobody would play us because dude, it was
Oh,
awesome.
man.
You know, I had the slammer I remember the most was an 8-ball slammer that I had,
Yep.
and it was sweet.
That is cool.
Yeah, I need to go try and find these Pogs.
You need to.
because
Definitely.
yeah. So that's my gaming news.
That's pretty cool news.
and I'm excited
I love
for
it.
it.
Obviously, we'll have a lot more gaming news next week because of
Oh,
E3
yes.
starting
Yep.
tomorrow-ish.
Tomorrow. Yep.
But really, the convention doesn't start till Monday. But the news will be coming in.
Oh, yeah.
But I do have some news here. There's been a game, there's been a game called Crackdown 3 that was supposed to come out when the Xbox One X launched. It was pushed back to E3. It is now pushed back to 2019.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was just updated that's what happened. So probably around February.
It's really a bummer, though, considering they got Terry Crews to do that trailer last year.
I know.
And it was
I know.
awesome. Like, just release the game already. We want to experience the excitement that Terry Crews was experiencing in that trailer.
I think on Sunday they'll probably give more like, hey, this is why we pushed it back, or this is what we're trying to do, or whatever. I'm sure.
hope so.
I mean, I hope so. Otherwise, they're really gonna. Obviously, they've already upset people because people have been looking forward to this. But
Oh, yeah.
who knows? Maybe they'll come out with their Halo 6 and Gears of War 5 or something. I don't know. But there was that I wanted to mention. But also, I did want to talk a little bit more about crossplay. There's on June 12th, Xbox One and Nintendo Switch owners will be on the same servers for the Paladins game.
Oh.
So more crossplay. So you've got your Rocket Leagues that's doing the crossplay. You've got Minecraft that'll be coming. Actually, I think the 12th, and now Paladins, which is awesome. I think
Yeah.
so. I think
Well,
more
you
crossplays, the better.
You still can't do crossplay between PC and console on Paladins,
Not yet.
which is a bummer, but I mean, hopefully that's coming.
Honestly.
And you can't do crossplay if you have a PlayStation in general. So,
Yeah.
True.
come on, Sony, get on that.
I mean, to be
Gosh.
fair, you take the number of people who are serious about their Xbox games, add that to the number of people who are serious about their Switch games, and add that to the number of people who are serious about their PC games, like multiplayer for all three of those platforms. Add all three of them together, you're getting close to the number of people who are serious about multiplayer on PlayStation 4. Like, the PlayStation 4 user base is so massive that, like, yeah, I don't think they really noticed that they can't play with us.
Yeah, it's probably true. But, I mean, that would just open it up even more. And
It's true. But it's definitely the kind of thing, like, you talk to PlayStation owners, like PS4 owners and stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, I went with the PS4, not necessarily because it has better games or anything, but just because, like, my friends had it, and that's just kind of the way this console generation went. Like, I had an Xbox 360 before, and then the PlayStation 4 came out, and I just got that one. It was cheaper, I think. Like, that's how most people were. And so, like, the vast majority of console gamers, they've got PlayStations. And so, yeah.
And the ones that really care have both.
That's yes, that's true. Actually, I also know a good number of people that do have both. They're like, yeah, I got the Xbox One because of all of these sweet exclusive games I wanted to play. And then I got the PlayStation 4 because that's where all of my friends were. And so I have both, and they're sitting next to each other. And then I got the Switch because playing Doom on a bus.
Yeah. I bought the game 3 times.
Yep. And then I'm over here like, I have a PC because I had one in the 90s, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it has worked for me.
PC Master Race.
I am never giving up Age of Empires. You can take my PC when you pry my copy of the Age of Empires Gold Edition out of my cold, dead fingers.
Right. Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's kind of all we have so far. Unless anyone's got one more thing.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening, and have a good rest of your week.
Bye-bye.
See ya.